You have 1 week to move out. My son David did not look me in the eye when he delivered the news. He stared at the marble kitchen island, his hands shoved deep into his pockets. His wife Sarah stood right beside him. She held a cup of coffee, her posture completely relaxed, as if they were discussing the weather rather than kicking a 68-year-old woman out of her own home. "It is for the best, Diane," Sarah added, placing the cup down. "We all know you are running out of money. You cannot afford the upkeep of this place anymore. David and I need to think about our future and maintaining a house. This size is our responsibility now." I looked around the kitchen. I had picked out the granite countertops. I had paid for the custom oak cabinets. The house was a sprawling $3 million property in a quiet suburb surrounded by pine trees. "Your responsibility?" I asked quietly. "Mom, please don't make this hard," David muttered, finally glancing up. "Sarah is right. We know about the lottery money. We know it is mostly gone. You have been shopping at discount stores and driving that old Honda for a year. We want to take over the property so you don't have to stress. We found a nice, affordable senior apartment for you downtown." Sarah slid a printed brochure across the island. It featured a cramped gray building. She had already filled out the application in my name. They honestly believed they were doing me a favor while stealing my home. They thought I was a foolish old widow who blew her fortune and needed to be rescued. I did not yell. I did not cry. I simply picked up the brochure, folded it neatly, and placed it in my pocket. 7 days. I repeated, my voice steady. Sarah smiled, looking victorious. 7 days. Start packing. She walked away, assuming she had won. She had no idea what was waiting for her. 6 years ago, I bought a lottery ticket at a grocery store. That single piece of paper won me $12 million after taxes. I did not buy sports cars or diamond necklaces. I quietly set up a private holding company, invested the bulk of it, and bought this house in cash. When I invited David and Sarah to move in, I told them I had come into a modest retirement settlement. I wanted to give my son a stable roof over his head, especially since they were struggling with rent and raising my granddaughter Lily. I let them live here for free. I paid the property taxes. I paid the utility bills. At first, they were grateful. But gratitude has a short shelf life when greed takes over. Within 2 years, Sarah started acting like the lady of the manor. She complained about my cooking smells. She asked me to stop using the main living room when she had friends over. She began making comments about my spending habits, assuming my small settlement was drying up. I never corrected her. I watched. I listened. I learned exactly who they were. The trouble really began last month. I noticed Sarah had moved my personal family photos off the hallway shelves, replacing them with expensive modern art pieces she bought online. When I moved my photos back, she confronted me. "Diane, this house needs a fresh look," she had huffed. "You are holding on to the past. We need to modernize if we are going to build equity." "Whose equity?" I had asked. She rolled her eyes. "Ours, obviously. We are the ones who will inherit it." That was the moment I realized I was no longer a mother to them. I was just an obstacle standing between them and a house they believed they already owned. They wanted the prize, but they did not want me in the picture anymore. 2 days after they gave me the 1-week deadline, I came home from a morning walk to find cardboard boxes stacked in my bedroom. Sarah was pulling my sweaters from the closet and tossing them into a plastic bin. She did not even flinch when I opened the door. "What are you doing in my room, Sarah?" I asked, leaning against the door frame. "Getting a head start?" she replied, not looking back. "The movers are coming on Friday. David and I decided to take this master suite. We need the extra closet space. You can sleep in the basement guest room until you leave." She was erasing me from the house before my time was even up. Most mothers would have broken down. I felt a cold knot tighten in my chest, but I refused to give her the satisfaction of my tears. "Put my clothes back," I instructed. Sarah dropped a sweater and scoffed. "Diane, don't be stubborn. The basement is perfectly fine. You need to get used to smaller spaces anyway. That apartment we found for you doesn't have a walk-in closet." I walked over, picked up the plastic bin, and dumped my sweaters onto the bed. I said, "Put them back. If you touch my belongings again without my permission, you will regret it." She stepped back, surprised by the ice in my voice. She opened her mouth to argue, but my granddaughter Lily appeared in the hallway. "Mom, what are you doing to Grandma's room?" Lily asked, frowning. She was 15 and saw right through her parents' behavior. "Nothing, sweetie. Just helping," Sarah snapped. She glared at me, then marched out of the room. I smiled at Lily, thanking her silently. Then I closed my door and made a phone call to my bank. If Sarah wanted to play a game of ownership, it was time to change the rules. On Wednesday morning, David stormed into the kitchen while I was making toast. His face was red, and he held his smartphone tightly in his hand. "Mom, did you do something to this emergency credit card?" he demanded. Years ago, I had given David a supplementary card linked to one of my accounts. I told him it was strictly for emergencies, medical bills, or car repairs. For a long time, he respected that. But recently, Sarah had been using it for designer clothes and expensive dinners. "I canceled it," I answered, spreading butter on my toast. "You canceled it. I was at the hardware store trying to buy materials for the new patio, and my card declined in front of everyone. It was humiliating." "A patio is not an emergency, David. And frankly, neither was the $500 spa day your wife charged to it last weekend." He crossed his arms, defensive. "We are trying to improve the house. Sarah needs to relax. You are being completely unreasonable. Just because you mismanaged your money doesn't mean you should take it out on us." I took a bite of my toast, chewing slowly. "My money is managed perfectly. Then why are you cutting us off?" He raised his voice. "Sarah is right. You are going broke, and you are trying to drag us down with you. This is exactly why you need to move out. You are out of control." "I am out of control for stopping you from spending my money," I chuckled dryly. "That is fascinating logic." David glared at me. "You have 4 days left. Just stay out of our way until Friday." He turned and slammed the kitchen door behind him. I finished my breakfast in peace. They thought cutting the card was an act of desperation. They had no idea it was merely the warm-up. Thursday afternoon, a large white van pulled into the driveway. 3 men in work shirts stepped out carrying toolboxes and heavy equipment. I stepped onto the front porch, watching them unload. "Can I help you?" I called out. The foreman checked his clipboard. "We are here for the Lawson residence, ordered by a Sarah Lawson. We are here to tear out the back garden and start the foundation for the new outdoor kitchen." My garden. The one I had planted with my own hands, filled with roses and hydrangeas. Sarah had not even waited for me to leave before trying to bulldoze the only space I truly loved. "There has been a mistake," I said, walking down the steps. "I am the homeowner, and I did not authorize any construction." Sarah hurried out the front door, her heels clicking aggressively on the pavement. "Diane, stop it." "Yes, gentlemen, right this way. She is moving out tomorrow. She doesn't know what she's talking about." The foreman looked between us, confused. I calmly pulled my driver's license and a copy of the property deed from my pocket. I had kept the deed handy all week just for moments like this. I handed them to the foreman. "My name is Diane Lawson. I am the sole owner of this property. If you take one step into my backyard with those tools, I will have you arrested for trespassing. Here is a $100 bill for your wasted time and gas. Have a good day." The foreman looked at the deed, looked at the cash, and nodded. "Pack it up, boys," he shouted to his crew. Sarah shrieked. "You can't do that. I paid a deposit." "Then you should ask for a refund," I replied, walking back up the stairs. She grabbed my arm. "You are ruining everything. You are a bitter, broke old woman." I pulled my arm away. "Friday is coming, Sarah. Be patient." Thursday evening felt different. The house was uncomfortably quiet. David avoided me entirely, hiding in the garage. Sarah paced upstairs, her heavy footsteps echoing through the ceiling. I spent the evening in my bedroom packing exactly one small suitcase. I folded my favorite blouses, packed my toiletries, and placed a single white envelope carefully on top of my clothes. Lily knocked softly on my door before pushing it open. She looked at the suitcase, her eyes filling with tears. "Are you really leaving, Grandma?" she whispered, sitting on the edge of my bed. "I told Mom it isn't fair. This is your house. Why do you have to go?" I sat down next to her and patted her hand. "Lily, adults sometimes get confused about what belongs to them. Your parents need a reminder. Do not worry about me. I am not going anywhere that will keep me away from you." "But they said you don't have any money left to keep the house." People say a lot of things when they don't know the truth. I smiled reassuringly. "I want you to go to school tomorrow and have a wonderful day. When you come back, things will be much clearer." She hugged me tightly. It was the only genuine affection I had felt in this house for months. After Lily went to bed, I walked downstairs and placed a notepad on the kitchen island. I wrote a simple message for David and Sarah. "We need to sit down tomorrow morning at 9:00 a.m. before anyone leaves." Dining room. I did not hire a lawyer. I did not call the police. I didn't need to. True power doesn't require shouting or legal threats. True power is simply knowing exactly what you hold in your hands. And I held everything. Friday morning arrived with a cold, clear sky. I dressed in a sharp navy blazer and trousers. I made a pot of fresh coffee and sat at the head of the dining table waiting. At exactly 9 o'clock, David and Sarah came downstairs. Sarah carried a plastic folder. She looked smug, wearing a bright yellow dress like it was a day of celebration. David looked exhausted, unable to meet my gaze. "Good morning," Sarah chirped, sitting across from me. "I have the transfer papers for the utility bills, and I printed a document for you to sign, officially handing over the property management to David. Just standard stuff to make it easier for us." "I am not signing anything," I stated, pouring myself a cup of coffee. David sighed heavily. "Mom, please. The movers are going to be here at noon. Just sign the papers so we can move on." "We are trying to do this peacefully." "You are trying to steal my home peacefully," I corrected him. "There is a difference." Sarah slammed her hand on the table. "Steal. You are out of money." "Diane. You can't even afford the property taxes next month. We are saving this house from foreclosure. You should be thanking us." "You really believe that?" I observed, fascinated by her absolute certainty. "You watched me buy groceries on sale and you decided I was bankrupt." "We know you spent the lottery money," David said quietly. "It happens to everyone who wins. It is okay, Mom, but the house is ours now. We built our lives here." "You built your lives on a foundation I paid for," I replied. I reached into my bag, resting on the chair next to me. "And you made a very poor assumption about my finances." I pulled out the crisp white envelope and placed it dead center on the mahogany table. "Open it," I commanded. Sarah laughed a sharp, condescending sound. "What is this, a coupon book?" Diane stopped delaying. "Open the envelope, David." I ignored her, keeping my eyes on my son. David reached out hesitantly. He broke the seal and pulled out the thick, watermarked paper inside. It was a certified statement from my private bank printed just 2 days ago. He stared at the page. His eyes scanned the top, moved to the center, and froze. All the color drained from his face. His mouth opened slightly, but no sound came out. "What?" Sarah snapped, snatching the paper from his hands. "What is it?" She looked at the document. I watched her eyes dart back and forth, reading the balance line over and over again, as if the numbers might rearrange themselves into a smaller amount. Current account balance, $13,850. The room fell dead silent. The only sound was the hum of the refrigerator in the next room. This is fake," Sarah stammered, dropping the paper on the table as if it burned her. "You won $12 million 6 years ago. You bought this house. You paid for our cars. This is impossible. Investments grow when you don't spend money on useless luxury, Sarah," I explained smoothly. I live modestly because I prefer it. I hid the true amount because I wanted to protect you from exactly this becoming greedy, entitled people who value a dollar more than family. David looked at me, completely shattered. "You have $13 million. This whole time, I have my money, yes. And I have the deed to this $3 million house." I leaned forward. "A house you just tried to kick me out of." Sarah's smugness completely vanished. Her face flushed a deep, panicked red. "Diane, we thought you needed help." "No," I corrected firmly. "You thought I was weak. You were wrong." The power dynamic in the room shifted so fast it left them breathless. Sarah tried to force a smile, her voice trembling. "Well, Diane, this is wonderful news. If you have the money, we can finally do those renovations. We don't have to worry about the upkeep. You can stay in the master bedroom, of course." I looked at her with pure disgust. "You don't get to backtrack, Sarah. Last week you told me I made everyone uncomfortable. You packed my clothes in trash bins. You tried to replace my garden. You showed me exactly how you treat people when you think they have nothing." David put his head in his hands. "Mom, I am so sorry. I let her get in my head. I thought we were losing everything." "You did not protect me, David. You protected yourself," I replied. "And because of that, you are the ones who are leaving." Sarah gasped. "What? You can't kick us out. Lily goes to school here. I am the sole owner of this property. I let you live here out of love and you repaid me with an eviction notice, so here are your options." I raised 2 fingers. Option 1, you pack your things and leave by the end of the month. Option 2, you stay, but you sign a legal lease today, paying me the full market rent of $6,000 a month, and I will not tolerate a single late payment. $6,000, David choked. "Mom, we can't afford that." "Then I suggest you start packing." I stood up from the table. "You wanted to be the man of the house, David. It is time you actually pay for one." Sarah began to cry real tears of frustration this time, but I felt absolutely nothing for her. I picked up my bank statement, folded it neatly, and slipped it back into my pocket. They did not have the money to pay rent, nor the pride to stay after being exposed. 30 days later, David and Sarah packed a moving truck. They rented a small, cramped townhouse on the opposite side of the city. As they carried the last boxes out of the front door, David tried to apologize one last time. "Mom, I ruined everything," he whispered on the porch. "You made a choice," I corrected him gently but firmly. "You chose the house over me. Now you have to build your own life. I will not fund your mistakes anymore." He nodded defeated and walked to the truck. Sarah did not even look at me. She got into the passenger seat and slammed the door. When the truck finally pulled out of the driveway, I stood on the porch and took a deep breath. The air felt lighter. The house felt huge, quiet, and completely mine again. I did not cut Lily out of my life. I hired a private driver to bring her to my house every weekend. We baked in the kitchen, we watched movies in the living room, and she had the entire guest suite to herself. She loved the peace just as much as I did. I hired a landscape architect to expand my garden. I bought new artwork for the hallways. I stopped shopping exclusively at discount stores, finally allowing myself to enjoy the wealth I had carefully protected. I didn't need to yell, and I didn't need a lawyer to reclaim my dignity. I just needed to stand my ground. Sometimes the people who push you to the edge forget one crucial thing. You are the one who built the ground they are standing on, and you can pull it out from under them whenever you choose.